If you're running an EC2 instance or a Fargate task just to scrape Prometheus metrics into CloudWatch, AWS made that server unnecessary in July 2026. The old way meant deploying and patching your own OpenTelemetry collector and scaling it as targets grew. Now you hand CloudWatch a scrape configuration, and it provisions and scales the collector for you. Here's what's actually new. AWS already had a scraper API for Amazon Managed Service for Prometheus since 2023. The new part is the destination. It can now write straight into a CloudWatch dataset instead of a Prometheus workspace. Your metrics land in CloudWatch, queryable with PromQL right next to your normal AWS metrics, with no separate Prometheus workspace required. At launch it covers Amazon EKS with Kubernetes Service Discovery, EC2 and ECS through a VPC-connected collector, and MSK and OpenSearch Service through their open monitoring endpoints. It's available in every AWS region that has the CloudWatch OTLP endpoint, except Asia-Pacific New Zealand. For EC2 instances running Node Exporter, you use static configs with the private IPs, relabeling tags every series with Compute Platform EC2, so you can tell it apart once it's mixed into CloudWatch with everything else. You create it with the same AWS AMP create scraper command AWS has always had. The only change is the destination, pointed at a CloudWatch configuration with a dataset ARN instead of a Prometheus workspace ARN. ECS task IPs churn on every deploy, so static targets go stale within a day. Register your services with AWS CloudMap and use DNS_SD configs instead. The scraper queries CloudMap's DNS records on every scrape and picks up new tasks automatically. Once metrics land in CloudWatch, you query them with PromQL directly. This one computes CPU utilization from raw node exporter counters, the same Prometheus data your app teams already instrument with, no separate dashard needed. A few best practices. Deploy in private subnets and rely on a VPC endpoint for delivery. Restrict security group ingress to only the exporter ports you actually use. Set scrape intervals by workload, since having your interval doubles ingestion cost. And drop noisy metric series in the scrape config itself, before your build for ingesting them. The mistakes that actually cost people time. Forgetting the VPC endpoint in a private subnet, the scraper works fine and delivery silently fails. Using static targets for ECS instead of CloudMap. Skipping relabeling, so EC2 and ECS metrics land with identical names you can't filter apart. And assuming you can update an existing scraper's destination in place, you can't, you have to create a new one. The key takeaway: Prometheus metrics used to live in a silo, a separate workspace with separate tooling from your AWS metrics. Now they're first class in CloudWatch, same PromQL queries, same dashboards and alarms as everything else you already monitor. The full guide has the complete scrape configs, the troubleshooting steps, and the FAQ, links in the description. Subscribe for a new cloud and DevOps breakdown every day.